Good afternoon, everyone. I'm glad that you had the opportunity to meet with me and discuss where we are right now with our social and emotional learning and our character education. And I know that a lot of you have implemented new programs this year to meet the needs of your students. Obviously, it's a high priority right now during the pandemic, and we really need to take a look at what we're doing to support our kids and to meet their needs. So what I'm going to propose to you is that we adopt a program called Social and Emotional Character Development. This is where we bring the competencies of social and emotional learning together with character education for a more comprehensive program to support all of our students' needs and not only develop their interpersonal skills, but also develop their intrapersonal skills so that are better able to deal with the things going on in their world, but also make connections to people in the classroom. So here is my focus and here's my priority. Why should we adopt social and emotional character development? I don't think this is anything new for most of you, and we talked about this last year that the suicide rate for our young people has grown to be the number 2 cause of death for Americans aged 15 to 24. Our students are stressed out. They're dealing with things that we don't even understand. They're bombarded with social media. They're bombarded with a lack of connection with their fellow students. They're actually going through a process of being isolated at the same time being connected through these artificial means. Just over the past decade, there have been 180 school shootings at our kindergarten through 12 schools across the U.S. Just 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, Marjorie Stoneman Douglas shooting in Parkland, Florida, took the lives of several people, changing our policies in education to address the needs for safer schools. This causes undue stress for our students. We've put into place a lot of different protocols and procedures so that students are practicing drills in the classroom. They're actually prepared to face the possibility of an active shooter on campus. All these things weigh on our students, making it difficult for them to deal with the outside stressors. According to the CDC, 1 in 6 students have been impaired with a childhood mental disorder. And this is just on the surface. That doesn't necessarily address all the different needs that our students have between learning disabilities, being, behavior and emotionally disturbed, having learning disabilities, having a difficult time interacting with other students. This is just on the surface that 1 in 6 students have impaired with a childhood mental disorder. That doesn't even encompass the wide variety of issues that students face every day. According to Prothero 2020 in an article with Education Week, children can't process and retain new information if their brains are overwhelmed with anxiety. There is so much stress on our students that we're not even addressing today. They can't retain new information. As we've come back from the pandemic, back to our schools, and we're providing support for our students, they're not able to learn. They're not able to retain new information because of all these other external stresses. And then lastly, schools are prioritizing lost learning in academics due to the pandemic, and students are concerned about their basic needs, their families, and 50% of students report feeling stressed, depressed, or anxious. I know that many of you have implemented some of your programs this year to make sure that we're addressing either the character education program or the social and emotional learning. And I think it's a wonderful idea that most of you are implementing the morning meetings to make sure that we're instilling almost a restorative practice kind of a protocol to make sure that we're meeting our kids and developing classroom communities. But we cannot lose sight of what that was set up for. We need to make sure that our students are met with every day and that they're coming to school and they feel safe. We can do a better job. All right, so just a couple of things. and looking at the different programs. Now, most of you can probably tell me right now which program you're using that addresses either their social and emotional learning or character education. Both are good, both are great, both actually support one another in one way, shape, or form. But one of the things we have to look at is the fact that character education does focus on students' ability to see themselves in the bigger picture within the community. And that's what those morning meetings are addressing. And then we have our social and emotional learning, which is helping students adapt, helping students to see themselves, becoming more aware, becoming more responsible themselves, and actually focusing on their own reactions and their interpersonal skills. So we need to really look at these things as two different things and figure out how they come together. We are working with interpersonal skills and we are working with excuse me, interpersonal skills and intrapersonal skills. They are not the same. We need to work on helping students to develop both. So here's what I suggest that we take a look at together. We need to adopt a social and emotional character development framework to incorporate a comprehensive program to develop the whole child. This will help us to facilitate the development of the child's interpersonal and intrapersonal, that's a spelling error, intrapersonal intelligences. We need to make sure that our character education programs are meeting the needs of our social and emotional competencies. Berkowitz and Beer did a study on a meta-analysis of several different studies with character education to determine their effectiveness. They found that the most successful programs, the most effective programs, were ones that actually address social and emotional competencies within their character education framework. And Durlek et al., 2011, integrated multifaceted programs to address several factors that had an effect size that was 3 times stronger than passive implementations. In other words, if we say we're doing a certain program, and I'm not going to mention any programs by name because I know several of you are using different ones, then if we merge them together and take a more integrated approach and ensure that we're meeting all of these competencies and seeing how they interrelate together, we're going to be able to provide a more comprehensive curriculum to develop the whole child. So we're going to go into our small group sessions. We're going to do some breakout rooms. I've given you some materials that you're going to use to work on. And I want you to really use the rubric that I've provided for you to analyze the different programs that are available and to see where those gaps are and to see if we can't come up with a better solution. So thank you very much for participating, and we'll talk in a little bit.